Hello loves, and welcome to this week's episode of OmMade Kitchen. I'm your host as always, Deepa, and I'm so excited today to be sharing cauliflower with you. So cauliflower I feel like is one of the new hot ingredients. You know, you'll see it in a lot of keto recipes. The great thing is it's so versatile. It can be done as a crust, it can be made into rice. You can pretty much make it into anything you want. Today, we're gonna keep a really simple recipe and do cauliflower steaks. Now, yes, I get it, steak refers to definitely something very different, but we're talking about how we're gonna be cutting the cauliflower, which is gonna be a thick cut. The reason I love cauliflower, it has so many health benefits. And personally, I like cooked cauliflower versus raw. So this recipe is something that is definitely a staple in my kitchen. Some of the benefits of cauliflower include great for your cardiovascular system. And if you think about it, the way cauliflower looks kind of like your blood vessels, it totally makes sense. It's great in minerals. It's actually a vegetable that helps flush your system by helping your body produce more enzymes. So it's a great detoxifier. It's so versatile, as I said before. So those are just some of the great benefits that you can enjoy when you enjoy cauliflower. So let's get started on these steaks. So as I said, there is so many ways to prepare cauliflower. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to keep it a thicker cut. So I'm actually gonna just cut the edges off right here. And you can just crisp these guys up for a topping, but we're gonna cut thick pieces of cauliflower like this. And don't worry about if it falls apart, it's still gonna taste amazing. The centerpiece will always be the biggest one. And we're gonna just let these fall apart like they are. So depending on the cauliflower, you may or may not get steak-like cuts, but the idea is that we just want a thicker cut. And what I'm gonna end up doing is while I'm cutting these, I'm gonna turn the stove on actually, because I want the pan to get really hot. So we're gonna put it on medium to medium high heat. And while you're cutting these, you're gonna let that get nice and hot. So while I'm waiting for the oil and the pan to heat up so we get a nice char on the outside of the cauliflower, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the seasoning that we're gonna use. I'm keeping the seasoning really simple because I have this idea of wanting to create a really nice sauce to go with the cauliflower. So I'm actually gonna use a homemade blackening spice that I made. Now you can get a blackening spice from anywhere. It really adds a nice spicy, smoky flavor to whatever you're cooking it with. If you guys are interested, I'll post my recipe below. Let me know what you think. But this is my homemade blackening spice, so it's gonna go right on the cauliflower in just a second. So after a few minutes, we're gonna give a nice flip. You can see this nice color starting to form on the outside. And the blackening spice is gonna really allow a nice crust to begin to form. So now we're gonna coat this side with some blackening spice because we'll give it a few more minutes on this side as well. So that first batch is still cooking on the stove. And I just wanna mention that I did trim off the greens off of my cauliflower, but the thing is, let's not waste anything in this kitchen. So what I usually use these guys for is if I'm cooking them on the stove in a stir fry, I'll chop them up. They make a great little crunchy element to a stir fry. Or if I don't have time that day, I'll just put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. And then when I have like several different vegetable scraps, I can put all of the scraps in a pot with warm water and a little bit of salt, and I just make my own veggie broth. It's a great way to not waste these guys because they have great nutrition and great flavor. So it's a really easy way to have a minimal waste kitchen. Both sides have got cooking time, and we're gonna flip it back over one more time to this side so that the blackening spice can do its thing. And now the longer you cook them in the pan, the less time they'll need to be in the oven. But I just want to get a nice char before we stick them in the oven. I have a greased piece of parchment paper with just a little bit of olive oil that I'm gonna put these in, and then I'm gonna put them in the oven at about 350 degrees for about 20-25 minutes. Really depends on how you like your cauliflower and also how thick you cut the cauliflower head. We have a nice char on both sides of the cauliflower, as you can see, and that blackening spice is sealed into the cauliflower head. So you can see it's made like a nice little crust. And we're gonna get all these little guys into here. And so you may notice that you have extra cauliflower that's not maybe perfect. I promise you the sauce and the cauliflower is so good, no one is gonna mind. So I'm just gonna start cooking that. And now the pan is already nice and hot, so I'm not gonna need to wait. But we will do a second batch of cauliflower. Can't waste all these beautiful little bits that will be nice and crispy once they bake. So we're gonna add that little bit of avocado oil on top. Now we're gonna give it a nice coating of blackening spice. Now, if you make your own blackening spice, you know how spicy it is. If you are getting spice from outside, please adjust accordingly. I am going heavy-handed with the spice. Now I poured the rest of these florets onto the baking tray. You just wanna kinda make sure that they have a little bit of room so they don't get soggy. We are going to put them in the oven. I'm gonna put them for 25 minutes, but I'm definitely gonna be checking on them. So 350 degrees in the oven. And over here, we're gonna make a quick little sauce. I thought to myself, okay, cauliflower, I always make creamy sauces because my partner loves creamy sauces and I love creamy sauces. But today I was feeling a little different. So we're gonna make a tahini lemon dill sauce. So I have about 3/4 to a cup of raw tahini. Tahini is basically just sesame that's made into paste. It has a very earthy flavor. It's really high in nutrition. Sesame is great for your brain. It's really great for your eyes, for your hair, your skin, your nails. And it's really common in a lot of Middle Eastern cuisine, as well as Mediterranean and different types of cuisine. So we're gonna have that. And I don't know how many lemons we're gonna juice, but we have 2 lemons right here. At least 1 lemon. Actually, we're probably gonna end up juicing both of them because like I said, tahini is very earthy. So it's gonna allow us to really infuse some flavor and brightness with the citrus. Something to really make sure that you always do with lemons, and I did this before we actually started doing this, is take your lemon on a flat surface and roll it out very gently like this. You'll actually start noticing that you'll get lemon oil on your hands and your hands will smell amazing, but the skin has a lot of natural oil. Utilizing the lemon zest is also great. So this is some maple syrup, and I'm actually gonna only put about half of this because I don't want it to be really sweet. And then I have some dill. Now you can use fresh dill or dried dill. I'm using dried just because it's what I have. Fresh dill would be amazing in this. Salt. Just a touch of black pepper because the cauliflower itself will be spicy. Although the tahini is going to make it creamy, I may want to make it a little more creamy and add some vegan sour cream or maybe a little bit of yogurt. But for now, I'm just going to add a little bit of water so that we can blend it and test it out. Tahini actually made it nice and creamy, so we might not even need to add any yogurt, as you can see. Oh my God, that's so tasty. It's really earthy, but needs more lemon because I really want the lemon to shine. I want it to be a really bright flavor. So we're gonna actually juice 1 more lemon. So that's gonna be the juice of 3 lemons now. We're gonna add a little more maple syrup and some more water. Even though the cauliflower is gonna be nice and smoky, I'm gonna add a tiny bit of paprika. It's really interesting. Still needs more lemon. So this is where using that lemon zest is gonna come really in handy. I'm actually gonna grab my zester and zest the peel of this lemon into this blend. And this is where most of the lemon oil resides, in the lemon. So if you don't have one of these microplanes to zest a lemon, I highly recommend it. It's also a great thing to do on top of veggies, just a little bit of lemon zest to add a ton of flavor. The trick with really good sauces is remembering that the reason why certain food is really satisfying is that it hits all of the flavor profiles on your palate. So it feels really satisfying and nourishing when you have a food or a dish or a sauce that has all that A little bit of bitterness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of sourness, a little bit of spice and umami. Like it hits all of those tones in your mouth. So even though it wasn't my intention to make a creamy sauce, it ended up being a creamy sauce, but this one has no garlic, no onions in it. Sauce done. And now we're just waiting on the cauliflower to come out of the oven. Now, if you were making this dish for a guest, you could serve this with a nice salad, maybe some potatoes, whatever really suits your fancy, but this is a great main dish. For me, this is a great one dish wonder. I will eat just a huge plate of cauliflower with the sauce, and that'll be a really great quick dinner for me. You get these beautiful cauliflower crusts, and you can see, because we seared the blackening spice, how it's nice and crispy. So as you see, I put a dollop of the sauce on the bottom, and I'm actually gonna take this beautiful piece of cauliflower. I love sauce, so I'm gonna put a little extra dollop right on the little edge. Some fresh lemon zest. For a little extra crunch, I've just chopped up some sprouted almonds, just for a little extra crunch. And voila, cauliflower steaks with a lemon tahini dill sauce. Yum. Well, I'm going to continue enjoying this delicious cauliflower steak. So enjoy it your way, and don't ever forget that the secret ingredient is always love.